Andrew Luck has been sitting out of practice since July 29th with what was thought to be a lingering calf injury from April. Yesterday, Colts owner Jim Irsay told reporters Luck wasn't dealing with a calf strain, but actually a bone issue instead. GM Chris Ballard then clarified last night Luck has not injured a bone, but was having pain in the front of his ankle, and his Week 1 status is currently uncertain. Eric Mangini, this doesn't sound good. How concerned should the Colts be with Andrew Luck?
Yeah, very concerned. I was not concerned at all a few weeks ago. I thought this was a situation where he'd gone through the injury before. He was learning the difference between pain and injury with the last situation, and he made some mistakes last time. And this time they were going to be cautious. So I thought that's exactly the approach that they were taking. But now when you look at it in its totality, really the injury showed up in March, and they've had 3 months to, what was it, April, May, June, almost 4 months to get to training camp, and he's only able to practice 3 days in training camp. Okay, so there's 4 months of rest. They get to training camp, he's only able to practice 3 days. They still haven't diagnosed what it is, and so now we're assuming the diagnosis is right after this long amount of time. And what's going to be different in the next 26 days or 30 days before the start of the season? Do they have a different rehab protocol? What's going to happen in 3 weeks that couldn't happen in 3 months that will make him pain-free?
But do we not know that this is just them taking a precaution on a guy who's had a lot of injuries in his career and taking a slower approach? I mean, we don't know whether or not they've diagnosed it right or misdiagnosed it, but I'm just saying, I'm looking at it as maybe they're just saying, we're going to take time with him, even though he's going to miss practice. We love to have him out there, but we know this team won't matter one bit if he can't play at all. So I'd rather take the long, slow approach rather than getting him back out there.
Rob, this is why we're saying we're concerned, because as Coach just mentioned, they knew this injury, or they thought they knew of the injury and what it was in the offseason, early in the offseason. And so to have all this time and you still get to training camp and it resurfaces into something different that we still are quite unsure of what it really is, like that draws concern. When I look at my offense and the potential of who we can be, and this is the key, period, of what makes us go, and Andrew Luck, our quarterback, I'm highly concerned because of the production that he provides, because of the glue that he is to our organization and to our team.
I would be concerned if he doesn't play game 1. Now maybe I would take a look at it. I'm not convinced. I'm not there yet.
But Rob, what in their process has made you said they've rushed him back?
No,
there's 4 months of inactivity and treatment and ability to diagnose. He comes back and he played. I think he really only was on the field for 1 day of training camp practice where he actually moved around. They listed as 3, and now they've re-diagnosed it as it's potentially a bone injury, or he has an extra bone in his foot. You can read all the different things, and there's really no one area that they focused in on. And did they change the medical staff after last injury? Did they change the doctors?
I would hope so. I mean, I would hope so.
I mean, Eric, is this a situation where, like, Andrew Luck should be angry with the Colts? How do you misdiagnose something after 4 months? This guy was a comeback player of the year. The Colts are a legit Super Bowl contender. I have a ticket on them to win the Super Bowl. Like, this is bad news for the Colts.
Yeah, it's terrible news. And he was the comeback player of the year from an injury that was misdiagnosed the last time. And that's the scariest thing about this. I think Andrew Luck is a great player. I think he's physically tough. I think he's mentally tough. And the fact that he's in this spot at this point with the amount of time that's been put into this, and still the diagnosis is, depending on who you talk to, you know, it's the ankle, it's the calf, it's an extra bone. There doesn't seem to be a lot of clarity to make you confident that, yeah, he's going to play week 1 or at all.
And I get it because of the past, but I also think that maybe in the past they thought that they told us one thing, okay, yeah, he's going to be okay or whatever, and it's not that bad, and they put him back out there. And I think this time they're saying, we're just going to hold him back, right? Take our time on this, even if it means he's missing training camp or whatever, to get him right so that you don't have a mistake. You don't put him out there and have him really seriously injured even more to satisfy people to say, oh, he's in training camp and he's doing some stuff. Instead, just saying, we're going to wait.
Look, I want to be optimistic, but the guy practiced 3 days after missing or being cautious for 4 months, and you've got 30 days till the opener, and now what protocol is in place that's going to change or increase or affect the healing process?
Maybe they're trying to set him up so he can win comeback player of the year again.
Eric,
They're on track.
Last year was the second best quarterback in the league in net yards per pass against the blitz. Okay, very tough, as you said. Tough guy, can scramble, win outside of the pocket. This ankle injury, what do you think the impact is against, say, an opponent like Week 1, the Chargers, with Ingram and Bosa coming off the edge? You just said if he's going to play at all. It almost sounds like Andrew Luck won't be there Week 1.
Well, you just don't know where this is going. You would like to feel that, okay, we've got this diagnosed, we've got a good plan in place to get him ready for Week 1, but 3 days in the last 4 or 5 months, and now we got 30 days till the opener. It's a concern in terms of his mobility. One of the reasons that Andrew Luck is so good is because of how smart he is. And one of the things that he did so much better last year than he's done in the past is realize that you can get rid of the ball and live to fight another day. You don't need to take a blow-up hit to gain 4 or 5 yards. And that's as important a lesson for a young quarterback as anything. So from a mobility standpoint, yeah, it would be disappointing for him to lose mobility, but he's smart enough to beat blitzes with pre-snap reads and understanding protections that I think he can compensate for the lack of mobility.
Where my concern is highest is for them not really knowing what exactly is going on with their star quarterback. What is the injury at its core? And I've been through this where being misdiagnosed and being on the field and not being able to go or give it my all because something is still hindering me, and it's classified as one thing, but it's not really that. And so until you go outside of those team doctors, and maybe he has done this, where he's gone and got a second or third opinion outside of the facility and the team doctors, to where they have brought in a specialist and said, look, we don't know, or we do know. But that's where the biggest concern for me is that the fact that they don't really know what is going on and what is keeping him away from the football field.
But is it that they really don't know, or they don't want us to know? Because I'm always, you being a former head coach, is that there's sometimes you just don't want to put out really what it is?
No,
I'm asking.
It's not sometimes, it's all the time.
It is all the time, but Coach, at least everyone would be on the same page, conveying the same message. That's not the case here. We're hearing one thing as a bone, and then the next thing is, oh, it's an ankle. So which one is it?
Before that, it was a calf.
Before that, it was a calf. So you're getting mixed messages across the board from different people in the organization, to where it leads me to believe they don't really know.
Eric, we talked earlier, team doctors. Is there a conflict of interest for team doctors, because their job is to get people back on the field, being able to play? And sometimes, you know, if you're a team doctor and there's guys can't get back there, a coach or GM or ownership goes, man, what's going on here? Is there a conflict, and should players trust team doctors, or should they really have their own doctors?
Look, I think doctors in general do the best they can, but it's never a bad idea to get more than one opinion, especially when it's related to your livelihood. Is there a conflict of interest? I don't think so, because at the end of the day, those doctors have worked very hard to get the degrees that they have, to be in the positions that they're in.
But they are paid by the team, not by the player.
I understand that, but the bulk of their livelihood comes from the other patients that they see. And if suddenly they were to be sued by a player for malpractice or any of those things because the player felt like what you're suggesting, they're not going to put themselves at risk like that. The doctors that I know are true to the oath that they signed up for and to the values that they believe in, and they're not going to put their whole life at risk just to, put a player back in the field, a couple days earlier, especially in the modern environment. maybe back in the day there was a little bit more of that.
All right, thanks, Coach. Great stuff as always. Coming up next, the state of the Cowboys is certainly messy, but is it enough to make Jerry Jones nervous? I think so. Cowboys reporter Clarence Hill joins us next.